How much time and money do you spend on activities that alter your state of mind? Do you think you could find ways of doing this that deliver better results for the time you're investing and the risks you're taking in doing these activities? Answering these questions is what Stealing Fire is all about. The book gets its name from the story of Prometheus in Greek mythology. The story goes that after Zeus and the Olympians overthrew the Titans, Prometheus and Epimetheus managed to avoid being imprisoned in Tartarus because they hadn't fought alongside their fellow Titans, and they were instead given the task of creating living creatures and granting them various qualities such as strength, speed, or the ability to fly. Unfortunately, by the time Prometheus got around to creating humans, Epimetheus had already used up all the good traits on other animals, and each of them could only be used once because that's just how Greek mythology works sometimes. Prometheus felt sorry for mankind and decided to make them walk upright like the gods, and also gave them fire. Later, when Zeus demanded a portion of each animal mankind sacrificed to the gods, Prometheus tricked him into choosing a pile of bones covered in fat as his share. As punishment for this, Zeus took the gift of fire away from mankind, only for Prometheus to steal fire from Mount Olympus and give it back to them. The Promethean fire has come to symbolise knowledge, power and progress. Now, the authors of this book believe that all of those things can be obtained through altered states of mind. An early example of this can be seen in another story from ancient Greece, in which a daring man named Alcibiades stole a substance called kykeon for his party. Kykeon was a hallucinogenic drug with unknown ingredients that was only supposed to be used during an exclusive 9-day ritual called the Eleusinian Mysteries. Throughout Stealing Fire, kykeon is used as a symbol for everything that can lead to ecstasis, their term for a powerful altered state of consciousness. In today's world, there's a huge range of things that people do to alter their state of mind, and some of the things which fall into this category of activities can be surprising. The book calls the total amount of money spent on the broad range of activities people do to alter their mental state the altered states economy. To start with, it includes every psychoactive substance that people use to alter their state. On the everyday legal side, there's alcohol, tobacco, caffeine, and a range of nutritional supplements like L-theanine. And then there's a large number of substances where access is restricted to some degree, from prescription pharmaceuticals to recreational drugs. Next, there's a very broad range of experiences which can alter your state of mind. This includes psychological counselling, action sports, video games, gambling, music, movies, and social media. Including some of these things may sound like a stretch, but the book makes arguments for each of these activities being things that regularly send people into a flow state where the mind functions in a very different way to what's ordinary. The amount of money spent within the altered states economy totals 4 trillion a year. To put this figure in perspective, it's more than the total GDP of all but 3 countries. The attributes of an altered state of mind are referred to by the acronym STER, which stands for selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, and richness. The experience of selflessness is described as the total absence of your inner critic. This is the voice in your head that shows up every so often to tell you you're not good enough, that whatever you're trying to do won't work, and that you'll never have the things you want. In an altered state, this voice that's normally always on is told to shut the hell up. The sense of self is generated in the brain's prefrontal cortex, and making it less active causes the internal nagging to be silenced, and gives you a sense of peace and perspective. Timelessness is the experience of presence. When someone tells you to live in the moment, and you make an effort to do so, it normally isn't going to work, because a timeless experience isn't an ordinary state of mind. It's the freedom from the regrets of the past and the worries of the future, replaced by a seemingly eternal present. Effortlessness is the feeling of believing that you can do anything you want to do, and that you'll feel great while doing it. It's a non-ordinary level of motivation that comes from 6 powerful neurotransmitters: norepinephrine, dopamine, endorphins, serotonin, anandamide, and oxytocin. They're the 6 most pleasurable chemicals your brain can produce, and they're involved in what's called a flow state, where work becomes so enjoyable it doesn't require any effort. Richness is the general increase in pattern recognition and ability to perceive sensory information that occurs during an altered state. This creates an experience of coming up with a large number of great ideas in a short span of time that would never have occurred to you before. The book then goes into detail on the 4 forces in society that are making altered states more understandable and therefore more accessible to the general population. The first is psychology. Our understanding of using positive psychology to improve our experience of life started out in the domain of Eastern mysticism, inaccessible to most in the Western world. It was then adapted for corporate culture to improve business performance, and from there led to the vast self-improvement market of today. Next is neurobiology. The ability to understand altered states on a physiological level means we can know and measure what is going on in the brain, and so we can test exactly what causes your state of mind to change, and know which state-altering activities produce the best objective results. Thirdly, studies in pharmacology have made it possible to know which substances can cause non-ordinary states. This has resulted in a surging interest in nootropic substances, which increase motivation and cognitive ability without harmful side effects. The fourth force is technology, which makes these states of mind more easily accessible. For example, by making action sports safer, or creating new, more immersive forms of media like virtual reality that have the power to alter your state more than the media of the past. There are now many examples of high-performing individuals and groups using altered states of consciousness to achieve more. US Navy SEALs have a mind gym where they use sensory deprivation tanks equipped with digital screens that they use to cut the time required to learn a foreign language from 6 months to 6 weeks. And high-profile entrepreneurs are known for enjoying action sports and meditation at a much higher rate than the rest of the population. Here are some examples of things that can cause altered states. The value of each of these activities to your life will depend on the activity's combination of required time investment, risk, and reward. For example, recreational drugs have a high reward in a short time frame, but most of them are also extremely high risk. Compare that to action sports, which have a somewhat lower risk but a much higher required time investment. Less extreme sports and exercise programs trade having lower risk than action sports for a lower reward. State-altering media, like video games, movies and music, have zero risk, but usually end up taking up a lot of your time for a really inconsistent reward in terms of state change. Meditation is another example of a zero risk way to alter your state. But while you can see positive results in as little as a few weeks, the reward correlates to the time investment. So to really achieve the big reward of a transcendent state using meditation, you'll have to practice for years. The book ends by suggesting you set up a calendar for state-altering activities as a way of deciding which ones you should incorporate into your life. There are 5 steps to this process. Step 1 is to list all the things you want to do that alter your state of mind. Things like different kinds of sports, yoga, live music, meditation, personal growth workshops, or adventure travel to exotic locations. Step 2 is to write down what you think the time investment, risks, and rewards are for each activity. Step 3 is to sort the activities into one of 5 categories for how often you'd like to do them: daily, weekly, monthly, seasonally, and annually. To make it easier to build and keep a habit, try linking the activities to cultural milestones. If it's daily, link it to sunrise or sunset. Weekly, link it to a specific day of the week. Monthly, connect it to the lunar calendar or to the first or last day of a calendar month. If it's seasonal, then you have solstices, equinoxes, and other days connected to specific points within seasons. If it's annual, there's birthdays, anniversaries, New Year's, and a ton of others, since every day of the year is now dedicated to multiple things. It becomes so much easier to make yourself do an activity, especially an enjoyable one, if you can tell yourself, I always do it on this specific occasion. And finally, step 5 is to regularly assess the effects each activity is having on you, and quit high risk activities every so often so you can get a clear perspective on their impact. Overall, I really enjoyed reading this book. The great thing about it is that it showed me exactly how many of the things I already do are actually all about altering my state of mind, and it also showed me the positive impact they can have when pursued consistently. Thanks for watching. I've loved making this video, and if you liked it, then you can subscribe to see more like it in the future. I'd also love to hear about what your favourite activities are for when you want to alter your mood or psych yourself up. See you next time.